Hello, welcome to another edition of Issues with JIDE. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, Senate budget pardon saga, on the ground moves to impeach Akpabio. In the course of the program, we take our questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom, Maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Good to see you again this evening, Bikil.
Good evening, Brian. Good evening, valued viewers.
Right. So let's get it right into the heart of the matter. Following the claim made by Senator Abdul Ningi, representing Bauchi Central, that the 2024 budget was padded by 3 trillion naira, Majority Leader of the Senate, Okwemi Bamidele, has alleged that some senators are planning to impeach the Senate President Akpabio before July 2024, describing it as a civilian coup. What's your reading of the intrigues coming from the Senate?
Well, these intrigues are not new. The Senate presidency is a very precarious position to hold, and there are usually banana peels that you can step on at any time that will keep you out of office. It takes one mistake, one big mistake, one unforgivable mistake for you to lose your seat as lose your position as Senate president. And between 1999 and now, we've had so many Senate presidents, and usually it begins with subterranean moves and usually crystallizes in the removal of a Senate president. Let's go down memory lane. Senator Enwem was the first Senate president of this republic. He was there for just a few months, between June to October, so just a few months. Then Senator Chuba Okarigwe stepped in 1999 and left after just 1 year. He left in the year 2000. Senator Pius Ayim, was Senate president between the year 2000 and the year 2003. Senator Adolphus Wabara was Senate president between the year 2000 and 2005. Then Senator Ken Nnamani was Senate president between 2005 and 2007. He was the Senate president in those days when Obasanjo desperately wanted to do a third term, but continues to lie to Nigerians that he never wanted a third term. So in 8 years, we had 5 Senate presidents, all 5 of them from Nigeria's southeast. 5 Senate presidents. Then in the year 2007, Senator David Mark from the North Central became Senate president, and he was Senate president from 2007 to 2015. He spent 8 years in office. Remember, I said earlier that 5 Igbo sons were Senate presidents in 8 years. David Mark alone spent 8 years as Senate president, the same period that he had 5 Igbo sons. And then Senator Saraki completed his 4 years, despite the fact that he was fighting the executive. The executive didn't like him. The Senate stood by him. They refused to change him. Even after the Senate, the primaries of the APC, when the Buhari administration began to go against senators who defected to the PDP. They tried their best, led by the then national chairman of the APC, Adams Oshiomhole. They stopped many of those guys from being re-elected. Only one senator survived, and that senator was from Sokoto State. He was the only one who survived removal from the National Assembly on account of defecting to the opposition. So in spite of all that, they returned after the primaries, but refused to remove their Senate president, that's Saraki. Then Senator Lawan also completed his 4 years as Senate president, 2019 to 2023. So it's always a precarious game to keep a Senate president, keep a Nigerian Senate president in office. You have to avoid the banana peels. The pitfalls are all around you. You've got to do your best to stay in office. You have to be very good at playing that policy. You have to have the maturity to get a good rub of the green. If they don't get the right committee chairmanship or committee membership, they are going to team up with your enemies. So it's always tough. And in the case of Akpabio, remember the manner in which Akpabio won that election. If President Tinubu had not intervened at the last minute, 4 a.m., I'm pleading with them to support Akpabio. Akpabio, 2 days to that election, was behind Senator Yari in the race for the Senate presidency. So it was President Tinubu that effectively helped him to win that election. He spoke directly to many of the senators from the other side, and he would then tell them, go to so place. Other senators are there waiting for you. So they had a head count before the actual voting, which convinced them that they were ahead, that they were going to win. But it was not like that 48 hours to the election. 48 hours to the election, the Yari group were ahead. So Akpabio has to find a way to play the game. It was clear in this whole Ningi saga that Akpabio was the target. Because look, the budget is a document jointly prepared by both chambers of the National Assembly. And on the day the president presents the budget, he presents it to the joint sitting of the National Assembly. So if the Ningi and others who are complaining, although it became difficult to even see anybody behind him at the end of the day, because he was thrown under the bus. Some of the people who would have been on his side, like Senator Jimo Ibrahim, like Senator Tambua, the former governor of Sokoto State, who was a former House of Reps speaker, they turned against him at the last minute, pitched their tent against him. So, and even the northern senators that he claimed to be, to be leading, that he claimed supported his idea. By the time he was literally put on trial in the Senate, the leadership, the members of the Northern Senators Forum disowned him effectively. Why was it easy to disown Senator Ningi? Because he couldn't prove his case. There is a difference between budget padding and inequitable budget allocation or appropriation for constituency projects. In the National Assembly, the principal officers usually get a lot more than ordinary members of the National Assembly. That has been the case for so long. It's not something that I love to see. It's not something that I want to see. But that is the tradition. No one can deny, especially senators can deny that that has not always been the tradition. So Ningi ought to have made it clear what he was contending against, what he had issues with. Listening to him and reading some of the write-ups, it was clear to me that he was more concerned about the fact that some senators got a lot more than other senators. But even when you want to fight that kind of case, you have to do it in a comprehensive manner. If you're president, it will be difficult for you to get your colleagues to support you. For example, no mention, I've been seeing some publications about what was budgeted for by way of constituency project for Akpabio's constituency, what was budgeted by way of capital projects for Akpabio's constituency. Why are we not seeing the same in respect of other principal officers of the National Assembly or the Senate? For example, can we see what is allocated to the constituency of the Deputy Senate President, for example? Can we see that? Can we see that of the Senate Whip? Can we see that of other principal officers of the Senate, the Speaker of the House of Reps? Can we see what's allocated to him by way of constituency project and what's allocated to his constituency by way of federal government's capital projects? Can we see what Abbas has by way of allocation for constituency projects? People are not bringing that up. So it's very clear that Akpabio is the target. And whether we like it or not, where a contest is very close, it's going to be difficult for you to placate and assuage the feelings of all of the people on the other side. I don't think Akpabio has succeeded in getting a lot of the Yari supporters on his side. And these were people who came close to winning the election for the Senate. For example, the Northwest still believes that the Senate presidency should have gone to it. And people would argue that, oh, if the House of Reps speakership went to the Northwest, why should the Northwest again expect to produce the Senate president? They have the Deputy Senate president, but I can tell you that a lot of those big politicians in the Senate from the Northwest of our country would rather have the Senate presidency. Because when they have the Senate presidency, they can also use it as a bargaining chip against the president or to keep the president in check. These are some of the politics behind some of what we are seeing. And clearly, Ningi demonstrated thorough ignorance of the process, the procedure that had been laid down for so long. And it was easy for Yayi, who is the chairman of the Senate Commission on Appropriation, to discountenance his case. Because Yayi argued that in the breakdown of the budget, the statutory agencies, what's allocated to statutory agencies, are usually not included in the main budget documents. And he argued that that did not start today. Those statutory statutory agencies are okay. National Assembly, the budget of the National Assembly, the budget of the Judiciary, the budget of INEC, the budget of the Northeast Development Commission, the budget of the Niger Delta Development Commission, the budget of UBEC, the budget of TEDFON, the budget of government-owned enterprises. By tradition, they usually do not break what's allocated to them down in the main budget document. So the money that he felt, the 3.7 million that he felt was being spent outside of the budget, it was easy for them to debunk it. There is no such thing as a second budget being executed outside of what the president presented to the National Assembly. It was borderline ignorance on the part of Senator Ningi, and that was why he lost support. It was difficult for him to get anyone to stand up to say, on this score, Senator Ningi was right, because it was so easy to debunk his claims. But when it came to punishment, a lot of them didn't want a long punishment for him. And I believe that even the courts have ruled, not once, not twice, that you cannot impose a lengthy suspension on a National Assembly member or even a state assembly member, because when you do that, it is his constituents who will lose representation. So it's usually, while the courts do not go against punishing an individual in the National Assembly, it opposes long punishment. And at the end of the day, he got a 3 months suspension, which is the right thing to do. You cannot suspend him for a long period, because he will go to court and he will defeat you in court the same way Senator Alim Dume defeated the Saraki-led Senate in court. Alim Dume was asked to apologize. He refused to apologize. His governor at that time, Kashim Shettima, pleaded with Saraki to lift the suspension, but Saraki pointed to the fact that Ndume was not remorseful. In spite of that, Ndume refused to apologize, and in the end, the court declared his suspension as illegal. So he got back to the Senate. They were very careful this time not to make the same mistake that was made in respect of Ndume. You cannot suspend a National Assembly member indefinitely. So the politics is there, and the president had to call a meeting of the leadership of the Senate, including Senate President Akpabio, to advise Akpabio on how best to carry on as Senate President, because not a few senators are impressed about the way he talks and some of the lousy jokes that the Senate President cracks. At a time when people are angry, you have to be sensitive. You have to know what to say and what not to say. Akpabio still has a lot of lessons to learn in the art of public speaking. Maybe as the governor of Akpabio, of Akwa Ibom, he face that kind of scrutiny. Open your mouth anyhow and say what they say can lead to a rebellion within the Senate. So, as I've said before, this desire to get him off that position will not stop. As I speak to you, there are still people who will do their best to kick Akpabio out of office. It all depends on how he manages the Senate, how he finds a way to bring some of the people who do not like him close to himself. Remember, even on the floor of the Senate, Senator Ifeanyi Uba attacked him verbally and accused him of treating the rest of them as slaves. So Akpabio has to be careful to not make the sort of mistake that is unforgivable, because is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. If he's not careful, he can be removed at any time. That's the nature of the National Assembly. Remember Patricia Ite's matter. The people, I can see some of the people who went against Patricia Ite in this battle against Akpabio. People like Kawu Smiler, they were there at that time. Tambua, who later became House of Rep Speaker, Senator Ningi. The moment they got Ete out of the way, they didn't like Ete because Ete was Obasanjo's choice. The moment they got out of the way, no effort was made to put her on trial, despite the fact that they lied against her that she stole money. In fact, they later passed a resolution that Ete had done nothing wrong. The same house where people came together and pushed her out of office. That's the kind of politics that we see in the National Assembly. That's why, as a speaker or as a Senate president, you have to be on your toes every day. Every day, you are facing potential risk of losing your job.
That's right, Bikeo. Let me take some comments here. Banji Okoseto says, Senator Ningi deserves all he got. He's highly mischievous. How does one explain the inability of a 17-year-old experienced senator who knows nothing or who doesn't know that statutory transfers do exist for NJC, TED Fund, etc.? TJ Associate says, BKO, why is it difficult for Senator Ningi to present evidence to all members of Northern Senators Forum for consideration before going to the social media or to the Senate President, rather, whatever? Oluwole says, it is so sad that we have a senator that cannot understand the process of budgeting in the Nigerian Senate. No Southern senator probed budget when Northerners were Senate presidents. Oluwole says, I think I've taken that. He also says that they should stop heating up the polity and focus on more serious issues affecting the nation. Marvin Odita says Nigerians are battling hunger and economic hardship by this government, while the President and Senate are thinking of politics of 2027. Good and smart governance is needed now. And lastly, Victor Patrick says, Babajide, you are doing well, but I don't think these senators is worth your time to explain this much. In all of this, where is the Nigerian people? Please continue to be by the people, please. What do you make of his comments and his appeal to you?
No, it's not as if I'm defending the senators. I am informing the Nigerian people. I have no business in Akpabio. Everyone knows that really I'm not his fan. If you ask him, he knows what I used to say about him. I'm not his fan. But the truth has to be told. It's just like we were in a discussion with someone today, and he was talking about people hiding stolen money in Sokewe pit. And I said, that story of somebody hiding money in the Sokewe pit was a farce. It never happened. Nobody kept money in the Sokewe pit. The EFCC said that they never told anyone that anybody hid money in the Sokewe pit. But today in Nigeria, that story is all over the place. That somebody stole public funds and kept it in the Sokewe pit. It's just like the story that Diezane had a diamond encrusted bracelet, and that the bracelet was recovered by the EFCC. Again, the EFCC came out and said there was no time that we recovered any gold-plated bracelet from Diazane's house. I'm just somebody who does not like falsehood. So I've broken this thing down. There are many people out there who think that there was actually budget padding. But Senator Ningi came out, and we have him on tape. I played it on tape, where he said he never accused the Senate of budget padding. Ordinarily, that should put an end to that controversy. But we see here people say, oh, let's have a comprehensive probe. Oh, Akpabio should step aside, this and that. We like playing politics with virtually everything. That the man Ningi never provided evidence. Listen to what Alin Dume said. That he called him, he said, present this evidence to me. I'm your brother. But I couldn't present any evidence. The next thing he rushed to a TV station here in Lagos, where again he failed to provide evidence. So that is the point. I am on the side of the people. If I have to choose between the Nigerian people and the government of today, I will choose the Nigerian people. It's as simple as that. People already know me for that. The people in government today, they know that that's the kind of person that I am. The people who think I do not like Peter Obi, they may think, oh, that is not, oh, he's pro-APC, is this, is that. Pro-APC. Pro-APC, Bawo. What's my business with APC? So people need to know the truth, especially Nigerians who are not based here. I've taken the pain to go down memory lane to explain the politics of our National Assembly, the musical chair nature of our National Assembly. People want to be Senate president at all costs. And if you are Senate president, you are not sitting pretty, you are not on your toes, they will get you out of the way. That was how we had 5 Senate presidents in 8 years. That must be a world record. My brother, does that not look like a world record to you? To have 5 Senate presidents in 8 years. It happened in this country. So I'm just telling the Nigerian people the truth. I'm not siding with the senators. I do not like their obscene lifestyle because it gives the impression that all is well with our country. But we are living a lie as a country. Our country is broke. The public conduct of our leaders is antithetical to the true state of the finances of our nation. We need to get our leaders to stop behaving as if nothing has changed. A lot has changed. The kind of money that we had in 2013, 2014, 2015, we no longer have to support the kind of lifestyle of our leaders of the National Assembly. So I'm opposed to them on that. You know, but the truth is the truth. We have to let people understand what played out in the Senate over the so-called Ningi budget padding saga. If a person started an allegation, somebody uttered an allegation, and he came out and said, I did not say there is budget padding, that should end the whole saga.
That's right.
But you see the PDP and other people trying to make political capital out of it. That's our nature. That's our nature. But we must respect the fidelity of the truth, because the truth is by nature constant, and the truth is by nature irrepressible. That is why I value the truth. I take the truth seriously at all times.
That's right, BKO. Because of our time, and then we need to call it a wrap quickly. But then, you know, it was suspended for 3 months. Some persons argue that he ought to have been handed a year suspension, but you've already spoken to that. But what's your opinion, and do you think that that's enough to serve as a deterrent to any senator or any lawmaker who would do or say things that would paint the hallowed chamber in a bad light very quickly?
I think that it serves as enough deterrent. It's a disgrace to have an elderly person like Senator Ningi. I've known him in the National Assembly for more than 20 years. Given his age, I do not expect him to come to the National Assembly with a flimsy allegation that he cannot prove. And that's why somebody got up and said, Senator Ningi owes it to his children to admit that he fumbled, to admit that he lied against the Senate. So, but again, there are precedents, there are court cases decided in favor of suspended lawmakers, which show clearly that you cannot suspend them for too long. If there's any punishment, it has to be short. It's short, but it sends the right message that look, this kind of conduct will not be tolerated. So those saying they should not have been punished at all. In any organization, you must find a way to regulate the conduct of people. If you can't find a way to regulate the conduct of people, people will behave just the way they like. And it will be like the Obesian state of nature. It will be like animal farm. We don't want an animal farm scenario to play out in the National Assembly. So there ought to be punishment. There ought to be punishment, but it shouldn't be long. So I believe that Ningi will learn his lesson, because as he speaks now, he can't get close to the National Assembly. He can't enter his office. He can't enter the National Assembly premises, and he will not be paid for that period. So that's enough punishment, and the negative publicity that he received, I believe that's enough punishment for anyone. So it's enough, and he will pick up valuable lessons from that. Already, he has given up his position as chairman of Northern Governors Forum. Somebody else has been elected in his place. No, so this is the thing. He will learn from this, especially the fact that his fellow senators from the north said, "Look, we did not send you to do the thing that you did. You should have come back to us to present the evidence so that we decide as one." Later on, he said, well, that the decision he took was all by himself. Others did not join him. So, I mean, what are we talking about here? These are serious. I mean, Nigerian leaders need to be serious at this time. We don't want distractions. Let's see how we can solve the problem of insecurity in our country. Let's see how we can solve the problem of hunger in our country. Those are the things that should agitate the minds of lawmakers, not playing nasty politics and all that only serve their interest and not the interest of the ordinary Nigerian.
Yeah. Well, you said it all, and then we hope that they take a cue from most of the piece of advice that you give freely on the show and on other platforms. It's just something that we need to get it right and make our country a better place, and that's the reason why we always come here every Saturday evening, and all of the days that you appear on Journalist Hangout. It's just for us to get a better country. Thank you very much. That's our show for today's edition of Issues with JIDE. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses, as you've always done.
Thank you, Ibrahim. God bless you. Regards to Madam.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, our viewers. We love you. We love the fact that you are faithful to this program. And in our lifetime, as I always pray, we will get the Nigeria of our dream.
Amen. Amen to that. And thank you again to our audience for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim, TVC News. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Sheeta. See you again next edition. Bye for now.